Awesome. Get the camera.
All right, cool. So the language of real estate. No, man, I just don't want to repeat my 12 years. I don't want to repeat myself anymore. So anyway, the language of real estate, right? So Bridget, thanks for joining us as well. Chris, I love it when the big dogs hop on. So what we're going to talk about is the language of real estate. So I'm going to share my screen here and I'm going to talk about where this came from, right? So this is cool. I love these small groups because I can, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, here we go. So language of real estate. So this is, this came from recruiting in Keller Williams, right? So this is where this came from. This is where I learned it. This is where it came from. So this is a slide, man. It's funny. This is where the 4 conversations comes from, you guys. It comes from recruiting. Okay. So a lot of things that I learned from recruiting, I said to myself, well, why don't we just do this in real estate sales, right? So this is the 4 conversations: appointments, gross recruiting, net recruiting, profit, right? Our 4 conversations are appointments, listings signed, listings sold. And I'm not going to get into all this or whatever, but this is where it all comes from, right? So what I learned was, I want to share this with you guys too. This is cool. I just read this. I was going through some old notes of mine and some seminars I had been in and trainings. The wall of value, Ali, remember we talked about the wall of value on Monday? The wall of value works 2 ways. The wall of value works 2 ways. If you do show value, the wall is like a fortress that protects your net and your profitability. If you are not showing value, the wall actually works against you. It repels net and repels profit, right? So Tommy, if you know what you're talking about, so this is what we're going to talk about today. The war is the wall of value, right? Like the language of real estate is numbers, right? And so in this seminar, here it is, lore. Okay, so lore. Now these slides are from recruiting, right? But it applies the same thing, right? So when it comes to when you're growing a real estate business and you're doing, recruiting is the same as listings, right? So lore, an appointment setting and conversation tool that provides evidence. Let's skip this. What is lore? Answer, a monthly report that shows how your market center is doing for 8 key numbers in our industry. So what we would do is when we were recruiting, we would show how our Keller Williams office was doing versus whatever office you were at. And truth be told, our offices were always doing better. So all we had to do was show the numbers, right? It was just a numbers game. Like, what are we doing? So it says we would show how we were doing better in 8 key numbers in our industry. Okay, here's the 8 key metrics. Again, this was for recruiting, right? Closed units, closed sales volume, listings taken volume, listings sold volume, contracts written volume. So if you were a realtor and you were working at Coldwell Banker, and I could be like, hey man, why don't you come work at Keller Williams, because guess what? We're selling more volume, we're taking more. We're listing more volume, we're closing more volume, we're writing more contracts. You probably would come work with us. How do we use lore? The value, here's the value of lore, the language of real estate, right? And we're going to use it towards sales, real estate sales. It's not a recruiting training at all, okay? Number 1, value. The story we can share externally about the successes of our real estate business and how we're experiencing them, right? So we're just sharing our successes. That's it. We have to talk about our wins, right? We're in an industry where everyone's number 1. I think I shared that with you guys. One of my very first listing appointments, this guy said to me, he's like, I don't know who to choose. You guys are all number 1. It's like this guy. And he was right. I was like, oh my God, you're right. We all just say we're number 1. And it's all BS, right? Like, I don't care, man. Like, and especially real estate is the ultimate, like, fake it till you make it, but a lot of them don't make it. They just fake it a lot, right? And so guess what, guys? We have the numbers, and you're on a team, and one of the most powerful things that you have are the numbers, right? And like, I will just say this, right? Like, before I was on a team or before I had a bunch of business, I just used my office's numbers. So if you're a single agent and you want to like talk about your team is your office. You can use those numbers, but you just have to know your numbers and you have to know how to talk about them, right? That's the real fake it till you make it, right? Like I would say, oh, my office does this, blah, blah, blah. I was on a real estate team until I started another real estate team. And so when I didn't have any sales, I was like, well, my real estate team did blank. That's what it looked like. The opportunity, the story about how we can improve the successes of for our clients and what they're experiencing. The truth here is top producers speak a different language from other agents. It's a language of numbers, right? Remember that. Top producers speak a different language from other agents. It's the language of numbers, right? Lore, the language of real estate, it's about creating curiosity, okay? And I'm going to show you guys about how the lore, the language of real estate, this just dumps into your elevator pitch, right? Hold on one second, guys. I'm trying to work this thing. I have to allow people in this thing. I don't know if Sam Mark isn't here. Okay. Cool. Okay, so this is how we would do this for recruiting. And I'm going to show you guys how I did this last night. So what you're going to do is so when they were teaching us about recruiting, it was like lore, preparation, 4 steps. Find the month to month over changes from your MLS or board of realtors. Find the month over month. So when I was going to recruit agents, I would say, hey, so October of last year, this is what the MLS was doing. This is what our office was doing. October of this year, this is what the MLS is doing. This is what we're doing. And I could show you how we were just doing more, okay? That's a little crazy. Like, we don't have to go in depth here with this, with our clients and how we're going to use lore, but this is where it came from, right? This is where, again, I'll share this with you guys. When I got really great at, when I got really great at listing houses, I was like, oh, man, I just got to learn how to have conversations with professional people, learn how to get into business with them. And then we can grow something really, really, really awesome. That's like the two-sided thing of this, right? Like, I learn how to sell stuff and find talented people to get into business with. That's why I was so concerned. That's why I took a team leader role at Keller Williams, because I just wanted to learn how to get over a limiting belief of talking to people. So number 2, find the month-to-month change from your multi-year trends report. Find the difference between your board and the market center, develop your talking points. This is what it kind of looked like, right? What is your lore in recruiting? What you are doing in your market center that is leading such a dramatic different results for your agents. And this was kind of it. It's really easy. I'd be like, all right, cool. Well, the MLS is doing in October is down 13%. Our market center is up 47%. And we'd go through it, and you guys get it, right? And I would put the agent's numbers in here. I'd be like, this is what you're doing. Holy crap, you're in line with our market center. Imagine if we teamed up, what could happen? Cool. That's that, right? That's what the lore is, right? So now if we go into, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. I'm gonna talk about lore in our real estate business, right? No, actually, I'm gonna reshare my screen. So this is what I learned, right? So everyone here is a realtor, right? Belongs to the National Association of Realtors. One thing I learned one day was that, like, if you go, I'm at the National Association of Realtors website. I bet you the only person that knows about this is Bridget Harris. There's a tab, and when you log in, everyone has a log on to NAR, right? You have a NERDS number, you have all this, you can log on. The National Association of Realtors, they do so much research. It's insane. And it's up to you guys to go in and read this stuff and understand it. Because I don't know about you, but like, I want to win. And I say this a lot, like, I just want to win. So does Tommy Tropea. That's why he asked me to do this training. So like, if I know my numbers and I know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to give you guys all examples of how I would talk to people, clients and things like that using lore. But if I know what I'm talking about, I'm going to set myself apart. And I want to know I want to know the numbers. I want to have an unfair advantage. I will always take the unfair advantage. We're talking about getting up early. We talk about whatever it is. Like, I want to read, I try to read books because I want to be smarter than the next person, so I have an advantage over that person, right? So if I just know what's going on and I can talk about it, why not? And this stuff's fun. So right here, there's a tab called Research and Statistics. You could get, dude, somebody like Gil Olson could get lost in this thing for like 2 weeks, right? And it's good stuff, right? So right here, I just pulled the quick real estate statistics, overview of the real estate market. 5.34 million existing homes were sold in 2019. Like, these are awesome numbers, right? I'm not going to go through all these, but this is the language of real estate, and it's done for you. Your NAR dues pay for this, right? There's reports in here about how technology is impacting migration trends in the United States. I don't know, like, you want to be an investor? Like, I don't know, man, like, where's tech moving to? Like, at the NAR, like, you make jokes like, oh, I got to pay my fees. Like, some good stuff in here, guys. There really is, man. Like members to date. This is how many members there are, right? As of June. So these are updated quarterly, I believe, or something like that, right? This is what I like. Realtor Demographics. 65% of realtors are licensed as sales agents, 22 hold broker licenses, and 15 hold broker associate licenses. The typical realtor is a 55-year-old female who attended college as in a homeowner. That's your competition, guys. That's the average realtor. 64% of realtors are female, and the median age of a realtor is 55. If you're like a young go-getter guy like Tommy Tropea, and you're like, this was a huge talking point for me, man. They'd be like, yeah, you're not like other realtor show. I'd be like, yeah, well, the average age of a realtor is 55, and they're not really doing many deals, and I'm just different. So this is why you should work with me. That's the language of real estate, right? Real estate experience of all realtors, 9 years, okay? Median tenure at present firm, 4 years. This is huge when you're recruiting. The average realtor stays at their office for 4 years, right? And by the way, when they say like, I love my broker, I'm never leaving, they're leaving. All right, something's gonna happen, you know? It's a script. It's a script for that. One day you're not gonna love your broker. Can you call me that day? It works. Most realtors worked 36 hours per week. Yo, most realtors work 36 hours. I did not work 36 hours. I worked double that last week, right? So like if you're like, yeah, the average, as far as the NAR is concerned, the average realtor is working 36 hours a week. Actually, as a matter of fact, I hit the phones at 8:30 this morning. I have an appointment, blah, 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 blah. That's why I'm different. Hope you guys are seeing a trend here, man. You guys are different, and you wouldn't be on this call. And again, dude, you know what's funny, man? I always say on these training calls, the sexy calls that aren't going to get anybody any business, everyone's on. The ones that are like really going to grow your business, the basics, that's the ones that like the winners are on, right? This shit should get you excited. The median gross income of a realtor is $49,000 in 2019, an increase from $41,000. Like this is stuff you want to know, right? Like how much does a realtor make? Okay, the average realtor out of 1 million, out of 1 million, whatever, 1.4, you know, they're making 50 grand, you know, am I making 50 grand? Am I aligned with the average? Am I making whatever, you know? Am I making 100 grand? Am I making, if I'm making $100,000, am I making, and I, you know, am I making $500,000? Holy crap, I am blowing it out of the water compared to the average realtor. Median number of transaction sides in 2019. This is what you want to know, guys. Residential sides for all realtors, 12. The average realtor sells 12 houses a year. That's one a month. I don't know about you, but if this guy only sells a house a month, I don't know if I want this guy negotiating my deal, man. I want somebody that's doing like 5 or 6 or 7 a month, you know? Or like the Joe Oz group, 2 a week. You know, that's who I want talking about money, representing me, right? And then it goes on to talk like, you know, you can really dive into this stuff. Home buyer statistics. First time, this is great stuff. First time home buyers. 33% of the buyers in the last 12 months were first time home buyers, median age first time buyers. So this stuff just breaks it down, man. Where buyers found the home they purchased: internet, real estate agent, yard sign. There's still 6% are calling yard signs. Friend, relative, neighbor, home builder. I remember I went to a family reunion at Keller Williams. All this stuff was, Gary Keller was presenting all this. So I'm like, wow, they are doing so much work at KW. And then my team leader was like, that's from NAR. These are just NAR. And by the way, their NAR gives you slides right here. Like they give you presentation slides. And this is what Gary was using. He's like, why would I? And then someone asked me, he's like, yeah, why would I use anything else? The NAR is doing it for us. Like, and all the, so anyway, residential economic issues and trends, things like this. So this is all here, you guys, housing statistics. So that's the language of real estate, right? So then what you do is you just got to do a little bit of research. That's not even true what I just said. I didn't even do any research. I just went to the website that did the research. And it's all right here at my fingertips. So when I go on a listing presentation, I could be like, yeah, you know what, the average real estate agent's selling 12 houses a year. Our team right now, we're selling about 2 a week. We're going to do around 100 this year. So that's how we're different. By the way, there's only 4 of us on our real estate team. We have 2 buyers agents and a listing agent. And actually one of them is an admin that doesn't leave the office. By the way, this is how we're different. Remember, guys, we do business because, dude, we're playing a different game. Like we're playing a different game and they don't see us coming, right? And we have to be able to communicate that, right? So then what it looks like is, just made some notes for myself here. What is lore? Know your numbers. So know your competition, right? Just know your competition, right? So I pulled this up. We're going to get into this, but this is just in our MLS. This is just like our listings from this year. It's all right here. It's in my production report. You go to menu. It's all in there, right? Cool. Language of real estate. Tommy, write it down. Tattoo it on your face, right? I'll drop this into training, by the way. How many houses have you sold this year? So now that's a really good question, right? How many houses have you sold this year? Hey, Tommy, how many houses have you sold this year? I'm role playing right now.
My team has sold 43. Oh, close.
Cool. Ask me that question.
Hey, Joe, how many houses have you sold this year?
That's a really good question, man. It's funny, I was just looking at the NAR stats. The average realtor sells about 12 houses a year. It's like one a month. Our team right now, on average, we sell 100 houses a year. Today, pending and closed, we have 70 transactions. So what's sounded better, you or me?
You.
Yeah. So this is our pipeline, right? So what happens is this. I'd be like, well, 40 is good. 40, 43, 40, whatever. 40, 43, whatever the number is. The numbers are all whatever. These are the numbers. So this is everything closed. So this is our pipeline, right? Everyone has access to this. We have closed it's around 50 or something, right? In attorney review, we've got 2, right? And then under contract, we've got like another 15 or 20. It all adds up to 70. 70 sounds pretty good. The key word here is written and closed. If I said closed, I'd be like, it's 50. If I said written and closed, it's 70. It's just a different way of saying it. It's not wrong. You're not lying. One thing about numbers, they can be manipulated, okay? When we were doing our lore for recruiting, you better understand I was using the most attractive numbers, right? Like, one thing I'll tell you about numbers, I have it in here, man. Where did I write this? Right here, right? A really great win includes numbers and lore. They are purposeful. Remember this about numbers. They tell a story. They don't lie. But also remember, number 3 I left out, they can be manipulated. Just remember. I don't manipulate them to be deceitful, but I will use the most attractive numbers. Like, I'm not, does that make sense? So Tommy, how many houses have you sold this year?
Our team has sold, sorry. All right, so yeah, good question. My team has written and closed 70 deals this year. We're on track to do 100 for the whole year, and the average realtor sells 12 a year.
While we're selling 1 to 2 transactions a week, the average realtor, as per the NAR, is selling 1 a month.
Got it.
And those are all real, man, right? So
yeah.
Like, this literally took me an hour last night to just pull these numbers. Like, and the numbers, once you're in business and the flywheel's moving, these numbers don't really change, right? Like, they're all kind of the same. Bridget just added in here to help with LOR stats. My local board, Orange County Association, has 300K realtors and 150K sales in 2019, which means the average realtor sells half a house a year. Yeah, so like, that's awesome. That's a huge talking point, man. Where Bridget's at, the average number in her board comes down to, yeah, that's a really good question. Like, I didn't do that. So if I went in the Monmouth County MLS, I think it comes down to like the average realtor selling 6 a year or something like that. I just didn't do that number. What Bridget is saying is that her in her board, there's so many realtors that if she takes that number and divides by the sales, it comes out to half a unit a year, which is crazy. Which is true. I know that stat. So here's the next question. Hey, Tommy, what's your volume sold this year?
Good question. Our volume, we have written and closed 70 deals, and we're on track to do 100.
Cool. That's not volume. That's units, right? So volume is the dollar amount, right? So year to date, the Joe Oz Group is at 31 million written and closed. So year to date, we're at 31 million written and closed. That's $31 million worth of real estate. That's no joke, right? How many homes have you sold? I just went off Zillow, man. I just looked this up. Zillow says that we've sold 675 houses. When you're on a listing appointment with another realtor, Go to their Zillow and be like, this guy sold 14 houses. We sold 675. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but who would you want to work with? You know, like it's kind of what it comes down to. Be careful when you're on a listing point, you pull up another Zillow. I remember one, like sometimes you get burned. You're like, whoa, that dude sells a lot of houses. Like, whoa, and I would be like, yo, she's a killer. We're both good. Who do you want to work with? You know? Hey, Tommy, how long have you been in business? How long have you been a realtor?
About 6 months.
Cool. That's what you'd say to a client?
No, no, I haven't actually gotten asked how long I've been a realtor.
I bought my. I say I bought my first house over a decade ago. I've been in it ever since, and we sold about 100 houses last year. And then it's right to where they're going right now.
Perfect. Hey, my real estate team and I combined, we have a 15 years experience.
Okay.
Average days on market, right? You guys are kind of familiar with this, right? So this goes back to this thing that I pulled up last night, right? So average days on market. So what this shows is it'll show average days on market. This says 24. This is ones that we listed and sold ourselves. And then this is ones that like we just listed. So it's 24, 29. I picked the 24 number. The MLS is 57, right? So average days on market. Hey, but just so you guys know, or whatever, our real estate team, our average days on market, these are numbers for 2020, is 24 days on the market. The MLS is showing at 57. So we're selling houses pretty much half the amount of time. Like we're like outpacing the MLS by half. Gil, say that a little bit more smart. Say it smarter.
We sell houses twice as fast as the average agent in the Montclair County MLS.
Thank you. Exactly what I meant to say with my brain.
I actually, when I phrase that, I say like, our marketing plan. The result of our marketing plan is that we sell the houses twice as fast as the average in the MLS.
Tommy, that's your language of real estate, dude.
And if it's actually, that's on average. And in this market, like the corollary to that I put on there is say like, those are averages. And that includes this year, like we just talked about with pricing, where you have permission to start a little high right now in this market because of all the factors that we talked about. That includes people that opted to start higher and take a little bit longer to get under contract. Last year was actually 16 and the MLS was at 65, which is like 4 times as fast as the MLS.
Perfect. All right. This is a really cool one, man. 2020 sold original list ratio. So the price you sold the house at versus its original list price. Oz Group, 97.52. MLS, 90.24. Yo, do you know what this means? Our sold price versus the original listing ratio.
Right, the market that you come to, the price that you come to market with. If you listed the house for $100,000 and your sold to list was 97.5, that means that there was only a 2.5% reduction in the price there. And then in the average agent in the MLS, they list at $100,000 and they sold it for $90,000 and change. That means, and then they charge a commission on top. So our commission's 5%. That means that we are basically covering more than our fees in the difference that we sell the house for versus the average agent in the MLS.
Yeah, and Gil, do you think that this right here talks to this? Maybe why ours are selling faster? Because we're pricing them right?
We're pricing them appropriately where the consumer expects to see them because they recognize the value. Like we talked about before, how consumers are starting their shopping process way sooner because it's lower intensity to shop and swipe on Zillow and learn about the market. The consumer's way more educated, so they know value when they see it. If you understand that and you come to where you're at, a lot of sellers back in the day will say that they want to have wiggle room because they think they're going to come down, when really the consumer is ready to come up to where they are, where the value is. And you're actually going to sell the house for more money if you price it appropriately and don't wait until you, get haggled down by the market over time. Bridget's saying something important. Increase your list to 6% or more because you bring the results. Yeah, actually, we should charge 7%.
You're showing your results.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. Yeah, dude, Gil just nailed it, man. Like, yeah, Tommy, I hope you heard that, man. This is being recorded. That's why we record this stuff, right? Like, you'll go through a training and you'll get 2 or 3. I'm reading this book right now and I hate it. But like, I just read something where I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to carry that with me for the rest of my life. I'm so glad I read this book. You know, I can't wait to get to the next book, but I'm like, oh, I'm really glad I read this book. Anyway, Gil, that was awesome, man. Yeah. I don't know. I love that. Thank you. So here I just wrote, talk about your wins, know your wins. That's it, man. You guys are better. You guys are better. You're better. And just talk about it. Be able to talk about it, you know, be able to communicate it, right? Like, it's funny. I always joke about it, but what I just said before up here, I was like, yo, Gil, can you explain this a little bit better? Like, Gil's really good at it. Like, being able to communicate what's in your head out of your mouth effectively and making that connection is so important. And for me, I have to know my numbers. I have to role play. I think with someone like Gil, it comes a little bit more natural, but I have to do these things, man. I have to role play it. I have to know my numbers, and I've got to I got to talk about it. And that's how I get really good at it, right? So, again, numbers tell a story and they don't lie, man. Realtors lie. They don't tell the truth very often, and they say whatever they need to say out of desperation, right? They come from scarcity, not abundance, right? We come from abundance. That's the difference, right? All right. I wish Sam Marks was here. I really wanted to pick on him today. I had like specific things I wanted to pick on him about. Now Tommy gets it. It's not fair. Tommy, how long have you been a realtor? Well, 14 days. Hey, all right, I'm gonna pick on somebody. Hey, Gil. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work as well. Hey, Gil. What happened? You had a listing at 1407 8th Ave in Neptune, right?
Yes.
What happened
for like 16 hours.
Okay. What happened with that house?
The 8th Ave house in Neptune was we had actually sold the house previously within the group, but then a few years later, the buyer hit us up. He actually found us cold from our Zillow reviews. He was just researching realtors, he's an analytical guy, and he picked us out of the crowd on Zillow. We listed that house. We kind of advised. He knew the market was going to be strong in, during the height of coronavirus when we had the kind of supply shortage, and house was priced. It was in the first-time home buyer price band. We priced it appropriately. He was thinking about going a little bit higher. We advised him to go straight to where the market is, and because of that and our marketing plan, we ended up with I think it was 36 offers. We have a spreadsheet to track them all. It was insanely outbid, and I think it went for 18 or. We had one offer that was like 34% over asking price, but that wasn't the wisest one to take. The offer we ended up advising and closing on was, I think it was 18% over ask or 20% over ask, something like that. I should know the 18.3. It would probably come out of my mouth like 18.3% over ask.
You're out of your mind. It was like 18.7 only because I did the math. Anyway, you're a robot. So
well, I knew that it was something around 20, and I would say that it's 18.6 to make it sound even more precise, but I know it's not bullshit because it's right there.
No, 100%. No, I'm teasing you. But so what Gil did there was he told the story. He was like, well, actually we sold this house. I think we sold that. I've sold that house 3 times. Actually, I sold it to the buyer. We sold it 3 times. I'm sorry. We sold it to the buyer. Then we listed it and we sold it to the buyer that just sold it. That guy, we did not represent the buyer who bought that house, but that buyer, he didn't even know he was calling the dude that had it listed before. He was doing his own research on Zillow and blah, blah, blah. And he found us. He interviewed 3 realtors. We won it. I thought, it was funny, Gil and I had this conversation. My ego thought he was calling Joe Oz because I'm so great in Neptune, New Jersey, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't, Gil helped me smash my ego that day on the phone. He's like, no. I asked the kid, I'm like, well, I was like, anyway, the kid was like, no, I just looked up Zillow and you sold the most houses in that area. And I called the top 3 realtors and I interviewed everyone. So then we secured the listing, and we can go deeper into this, man. Like the other agent he was going to pick tried to buy it from him and was kind of sneaky about it and offered him $200,000. We listed it for $200,000, sold it for like $234 or something. Right. So there's a story here, man. We were looking out for our clients. We were doing the right thing. And then, and Tommy, a lot of this comes from experience, man. Like being like team, this is why we share our win. We probably in our team meetings, we should have like share a win from this week or something like that, where everyone can, Allie, will you actually make a note of that? Like share a win. Like that should be part of our team meeting. Like let's share a win. And then we should talk about it. That way it builds confidence in the team and we all know when we're winning because we all can share those stories together. And then, so the guy chose us. He's like, yeah, he was going to list with a realtor that sold him the house. That realtor tried to, it's in a really hot area. And like, dude, any one of us would have bought that for 200 grand in a second. Right. Like, but I did the right thing. We like listed the house. We gave him I told him the truth. And being an investor, there comes a time when you're like, you got to decide what you're doing, man. Are you being an investor or you're a realtor? And you do have an ethical responsibility to the client, right? If a client wants to just dump the house and you're there to like get the deal, that's cool. But like, if they need to get the most amount of money out of the house and they have to do what's best for them and they're willing to go through the process, you bring them the comps, you give them their options and you show them what's what. And I told the guy, I'm like, dude, I'll list this for 200, but let's see what happens. And that's what happened. And the guy, he told me, he's like, the other realtor like doesn't want to list it and said that I should just sell it to his dad. His dad wanted to buy it. His dad wanted to buy it. I'm like, dude, I was like, forget those guys, dude. Let's list the house. You know, like, let's list it. Let's get crazy. Let's do a Matterport. Let's do a 3D scan. Let's get crazy. Let's have fun with it. And so if we use the language of real estate, this is what I have. I said, we sold 1407 8th Ave Neptune Township in 17 days with 28 offers, and it closed at 118% of list price. That's the language of real estate. And again, telling the wins, right? So again, it goes into, this is the one so then I go on the next one. This is a house in Toms River, 544 Park Road, Toms River. We sold it in 10 days with 35 offers at 114% of list price. What are they doing? And not listing with you? Are you out of your mind? Dude, no one else that comes to the listing table or calls them is going to say this stuff, right? Right? And then and Tommy, don't get overwhelmed, bro. You just need to know 2 or 3 wins, right? Know 2 or 3 wins in 2-3 areas that you're calling. Know one in Monmouth County, know a waterfront one, and know one in Ocean County. That's it, bro. And then when you get the listing appointment, it's up to the lead listing agent. It's actually up to it's up to the caller and the lead listing agent to know these wins. To get your job, it's like the movie Boiler Room, dude. He says your job is to get them on the phone and get them excited to talk to a senior representative. That's it. When you're making calls, your only job is to get them on the phone, qualify them at their owner, find out they want to sell, and get them excited to meet with the lead listing agent. That's it. Okay? If they're not excited, you didn't do your job, right? Now, I tied in number 3. These are like tiny little sales, whatever. I tied in a luxury one with a story. So 3502 Churchill Road in Toms River. So you've got, in this off season, you're going to talk to a lot of waterfront properties. You're going to talk to a lot of luxury properties. You're going to be talking to people that didn't sell and they're like, well, I'm waiting until the spring. What we know is these at the Jersey Shore, these waterfront properties, they sell in January, they sell in February. Every idiot realtor is going to be like, don't list until March, don't list until, the consumer believes what the dummy says, and it's not true. If you have a lot of money, you're looking in the off season, you're going to renovate the house, you're going to buy your jet skis, you're going to do whatever, and you're going to be there for the spring so you can play with them, right? That's what's
Memorial Day.
100%, right? So 3502 Churchill Road in Toms River. Beautiful waterfront property. It was on the, this is what can you guys see my screen? I know it's a little small. It was on the market for 340 days with 3 separate realtors starting in November of 2018. We listed the property on January 21st of 2020 in the off season, and we're under contract in 24 days representing the buyer and the seller. I wrote in here, we sold it at 3.7% under list price. So we listed at $1,089,000, sold it for $1,050,000. Right?
Also, we took the listing in a barber shop, borrowing at another listing appointment. I had to borrow her power outlet. I was at a listing appointment. It ran long, and then I had to go into my car, do the Zoom call in my car, and then my battery was going to die. So I had to go back into the listing appointment, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, can I borrow an outlet?" and finish the listing appointment. And the guy was into it.
Yeah, and then we sold it in coronavirus too. Coronavirus broke while this was under contract, and for all intents and purposes, this buyer should have bailed. Like, he should have bailed. And we kept it together. Like, we kept it together, man. That brings us to another one. This one right here, I love this, right? Our deals don't fall apart, you guys. I don't know if you realize this. Our deals don't fall apart. They don't fall apart. It's massive, right? This is one. We've listed 42 homes this year, 39 sold. I wrote one decided to stay in their home. This should be hold on. One decided to buy their house back because they were overpriced, right? And 2 are soon to hit the market. Do you want to list with the person that took 42 homes, right? Sold 39, 1 decided to buy their house back, and 2 are about to hit the market. This looks like a group of people that are like steamrolling through listings. Our deals don't fall apart. If you're new, you probably don't get it. It's such a massive deal, dude. Our deals don't fall apart from appraisals. Our deals don't fall apart because of a pandemic. Our deals don't fall apart because of home inspections. Seriously, man, you get the 2 or 3. That's why, like, Gil, you get somebody like whatever, these people that like complain, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, you got to your closing table like in a Cadillac, bro. You got to the closing table in a Cadillac. You could put a drink on the center console and turn, it's not spilling, dude. In the vehicle that you're taking to the closing table, that shit's not spilling. You're getting there in a Cadillac with the Joe Oz group. It doesn't happen that way in other real estate. Like, I saw an email today, dude, there's one, that Trotter's Way realtor, who's like, yeah, I'm going to be at my other job. Can you guys help me? I'm at my full-time job. Can you, like, you guys are better. You guys are better. We're better. We're better. It's the way it is. I feel sorry for anyone else that even tries to step to us, right? So it's just your job, like, to get in here and know these stories, man. And it comes with time. But Tommy, I would take these, I would get 4 or 5 of these, like, we got to get, maybe actually, let me finish this up and we'll figure out a way. We've got to be purposeful with us making a list of wins and maybe adding to it constantly for a book, especially for our ISA.
It's called the Jaws Group Pipeline.
Dude, yeah, you're right. Maybe we just put a wins column or something like that. But yeah, they're all in there, man. You just have to be able to talk about it. You've got to communicate your value proposition, because every other realtor is putting up they suck, man, from the cell phone photos. I know that's the easy go-to with the realtors, the cell phone photo thing, but like, one on Edgar in Point Pleasant, dude. I hope none of these realtors watch this on YouTube and go, wow, Joe's really shit talking us a lot. And that's fine, man. I'll say it's your face. I don't care. It's true. But like, if I do this full time and I'm passionate about it and I do a great job for my clients, if you're, whatever, if you're working at Home Depot and this is your side gig, you shouldn't be trading someone's largest asset if this is your side gig. That's my opinion. Again, I'll say it's your face. We can have a conversation around it. I really don't care. But like, that's kind of it, man. People are like, yeah, I can't get to the house. I can't get to the appraisal because of my other job. I can't do this. I can't. When you call us, like, yeah, of course. Oh yeah. Well, you look around, dude, Sam, Tommy, Gil, Allison, like, whatever our clients need, it just happens, man. Allie's like running over to people's houses on her way home to have an old lady sign a piece of paper. Gil's dropping, like everything, just Gil's doing a walkthrough for tenants, like on FaceTime. Like, that's who we are, you guys. It's not like that when you hire some ding dong who is a barber and also a realtor and works at Starbucks. Like, it's not happening. So if you have to get mad, get angry, get excited about it, but you have to be able to talk about these things because you're different, man. It's the whole reason why we're a team, is because we can just we're running it like a business. Like, it's the real deal, Cool. So in here, I wrote in here, here's some other notes, man. Check the history on the MLS, which tells the story as well. So now, I don't know if you guys know this. This is the Churchill listing. Log back in. I did this all like last night. Was it 305 Churchill? Oh, here it is. Cool. So here's 305 Churchill, right? This is our listing, right? Days on market, 24 days. When you go to history for these houses, it tells you what happened. Here's the story, right? This is where I came up with we listed it in November of 2018 with 3 different realtors, blah, blah, blah. Days on market, 59, 119, 167. Like, they were trying to sell this thing for a while. Like, that's where, just remember in the MLS, man, all these, that's what history is. It's the history. It tells a story. be able to talk on that, man. If you go on a listing appointment for the lead listing agent and it's expired and you see that they've been trying to sell this house 4 or 5 times, it might be crazy. You know, just know what's going on, man. Know the story. I wrote this, right? So this all leads to your elevator pitch, you know. And the elevator pitch is what I said before, you know, when I caught Tommy off guard, you know, and it was just like, hey, you know, yeah, our team, you know, right now written and closed, we're at about 70 units. We're on track to do 100 transactions, which is what we've done since 2015. And it means we're selling 1 to 2 houses a week. The average realtor sells about, as far as the National Association of Realtor goes, the average realtor is selling about 1 a month. In our MLS, it's half a unit a month. So it's 6 in our MLS. Remember, in Oklahoma, there's a town with 300, there's a county, like Jay Kinder, he's from a county where there's like, you know, his graduating class was like 100 people. Like there's smaller towns with smaller, you know, that throws the numbers off. But like Bridget said was perfect. She's like, yeah, dude, there's 30,000 realtors. There was X amount of transactions, which leaves everybody at half a transaction a year. Yeah, so I wrote here just to end this kind of thing, man. You know, what's going to set you apart from the 6,000 other realtors? Like, do you think that you're better? Do you think that your team, there's a reason why you're here, guys. Everyone that's on this real estate team is a talented individual. You know, you wouldn't be here if you weren't. And so you wouldn't be here if you didn't see the opportunity. And if you didn't think you can get ahead by joining forces with someone else. And this is why we joined forces. So if you're not here, if you're not screaming it from the rooftop about who we are and what we're doing differently, you're not really taking full advantage of everything you have at your fingertips. Gil, what would you like to add?
Knowing the numbers of, it's a lot harder because they're like all these numbers stay standard for a long time and they're evergreen. You can kind of just like use them in conversation wherever you're at. So if you get these down pat, that should be like the go-to. But those are like macro things that are more about us. It's also incredibly helpful if you're able to, when you're going on a listing appointment, at least when you're on the phone call, you really shouldn't be. It should be directed to like, that's exactly why you should meet our listing agent. But when you are like, you should never, ever, ever be like on the dialer trying to like look up the listing before you call the person or something like that. I only do that if I see something that's like a house that I might be interested in buying. I'll screenshot it, or if I know that it's like right next to a property that we definitely sold that's like, if they didn't pick up, but I'm like, I know the house already, I'll screenshot it and then I'll go look it up and maybe do a little more homework if I have time. But for the most part, on the phone, you don't need to know about their specific scenario. You just need to set the appointment. You can get information and qualify them on their call about where offers may have been and things like that. But if you are able to really know the numbers around their house and their property going when you're on the appointment, that can be helpful too. That's like more personal. Like if you're having a conversation, be like, oh, it looked like this house at 21 square 100 feet. Is that right? Like I'll be in the list of comps and have it as a list, and I'll be looking at a different house and say like, oh, this one, I'll see that it has 2,500 square feet. And then I'll say, I'll be in conversation about a different house and say, oh, this one's got 2,500 square feet. Yours is about 21 when I looked at the tax record, right? And you're basically just saying like, oh, I clearly did my homework here because I know what your house is. I know a detail that you might not even know about your house while I'm talking about a different house. And if you can do that throughout the process of doing it, you know, the 3 houses that most recently sold around them, because they're probably looking at it on Zillow. So if you know what their neighbor's house went for, they're going to say, well, I know the yellow house around the corner went for 425. You can be like, actually, I saw that one, 620. It's actually under contract at 425. And then you get into the under contract thing. But if you know the numbers around their house, not just the market and our team, that's like the trifecta. If you can speak to it, it's helpful. It's harder because those numbers are moving targets. They're all changing. And I don't know, at least myself, I have a really hard time with like remembering addresses and street names and people's names and all the numbers that are all fluid like that. And there's like 3 numbers for every property because there's the list price under when it was the dates, and it's just a lot to keep track of if you're going to 2-3 appointments, and you can get them mixed up easy. Or I can at least. But when you can, or when you really want to nail the appointment, that's a very helpful thing, is to know the other houses. You go look at the history of the houses and see what they closed for, and then be able to put yourself in the seller's shoes and think about what they're going to say. If you pull up the history, and you can kind of see how people will like want to like make a narrative around the numbers that are around their neighborhood. And if you see a house if you're on the phone and in the appointment thing that they said like, oh, I think my house is worth, how do you feel about the Zillow number? Good, bad, or indifferent? And they say, oh, that's too low. I think it's worth more. You're going to have to you're going to be having a conversation about price to kind of like make them see that the house is not worth that. So if you find a house that's sold for less than what they think it's worth, but it's obviously better, you should know the numbers around that house and then be able to kind of explain it to them or walk them through it so they can just self-discover that themselves. And a lot of times that'll be, you want to know the square foot that one has, you want to know if that one has less square footage or if that one has a pool. I got beat on one in Lakewood where the backyard was really, a comp around the corner that I did was like $50,000 less than what they were thinking about asking. And I just didn't take into account exactly how big the backyard was on theirs. Like they had more property. Like I focused on the interior of 2 different properties, and like what was important to them and what they really thought justified their price was the exterior of the property. And like while we did the walkthrough, even if I was looking and sort of thinking about the backyard, like 70% of the backyard was pavers. And like, I didn't like really take into account how much she would really take into account that she put $70,000 into her pavers or whatever, and expecting to get that back. If you can kind of calibrate on those, knowing the numbers around the house is the point.
That's good. What I was going to say is if you're making the calls, you just have to get people excited. That's it. You just got to, and then this should bring you confidence on the phone to just be like, you should feel like the person on the line, they're like, yeah, well, we're interviewing 2 other people, or, you know what, blah, blah, blah. You should feel like, oh my God, you're out of your mind if you don't let our lead listing agent come over to your house, because this person is you should have that confidence. Like if we really want to help people do, like, really, I want to help people do the right thing. I mean, there's just a million stories. Like this year, I mean, there was a house that Gil went to it was an expired, and he went to their house and sat down, and then they decided not to list. And then they mentioned the neighbor wanted to list their house, and Gil walked out of their house and saw the neighbor working on his boat, and then went up to him and asked him if he wanted to sell his house. He said yes. Gil went inside of the guy's house, took a listing. So it was sold 60 days later. Then the neighbor listed with somebody else, and they still haven't, to this day, that other house still has not sold. That's a story, man. That's a fucking story, man. And that's how you should talk to your people, man. And
we got them into, they bought we acquired a multifamily with them, and lined up.
Yeah.
There was 4 houses that sold on the same day, and they were in the shitstorm with his financing. He had to switch lenders too. His financing fell through, and then our lender came in and rescued his ass for his purchase. And the sale for their purchase was contingent. I had to negotiate the home inspection issues on the house 2 houses below us in the contingency chain.
Yeah. So, all right, let's do this. Hey, Chris, would you like to add anything? Was this helpful? Did you get some value out of this? You still here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I mean, it's really good. It's a lot of it. It comes down to having the confidence to talk. You know, having the confidence in the information, the numbers. I mean, you know, I'm a pure numbers person. To me, I can relate to him. I don't remember anyone's name, but I remember all the numbers. That's one of my weaknesses that I focus on as far as trying to remember the names. But yeah, I mean, it just comes back to confidence, showing your worth to the people that you're going to work with. You know, you have to show value. If you don't show value, they're going to move on and find someone that does show value. And a lot of that comes down to confidence. Not to call out the one dude who you kind of called on, you could tell he didn't have the confidence in his numbers. And
he's brand new.
No, I get that. And like I said, I'm not trying to call him out at all. And in time, he'll learn the little shticks and whatnot that he's going to say. He's going to have his go-to phrases, how to word it in a more attractive way, to just sound better. At the end of the day, the facts are the facts, and it's still the same. It's just how you're saying it.
Right.
What do you find is what like the thing that when you're talking to clients that they're like, you say prove that you're valuable, like what is it that people like say wow about in terms of like, oh, you're actually different than everybody else and you are valuable?
I'm in Florida, just so you know. Number one, I'm blunt. I don't know how I am. I am just straightforward, blunt. If I think something's overpriced, I have no problem going and saying, this is overpriced, let's move on. They're unrealistic. Just as an example, a lot of times they don't expect to hear that from you. Okay, they expect a realtor just to try and sell everything. I tell my agents on my team to be as honest as you possibly can. If you don't know, don't be afraid to say, I don't know. Let me look into that for you. Don't make something up, because that's only going to come back and bite you in the ass. Just as an example, I've said it before on here, shut your mouth and listen. Let them talk. They have a story that they want to tell as well. If it's someone who's looking to sell their house, they probably have a lot of pride. They've lived in the house, let's say, for 10 years. They've put a lot of memories, a lot of money, a lot of effort into the house. Let them speak. Let them tell you all about it. Don't interrupt them when they're doing that. You'll have your time to talk, but let them really explain things about the house to you. For example, like the description or the one you were saying that you didn't get over in Lakewood. I'm familiar with all up there. I lived up there. I don't know what the call was or what happened, but maybe letting them explain everything that they've done to the house. One of the things I always do on a listing, of course, I've looked at the comps and done the comparisons and everything, and I have a good idea of what kind of is going on in the area. But then I'll always say to them, tell me what you've done. You've lived in the house for 10 years. Obviously, you've done stuff to it. Tell me about it. What kind of upgrades have you done? What have you done to the house to separate it? What makes this house special and unique compared to other houses throughout your community? Maybe in that sense, maybe the woman would have said, you know what, I spent $70,000 putting a paver in pavers in my backyard and so on, I built a big old tiki bar and I have, the TV out here and yada, yada, yada. I mean, Joe, you know what my backyard looked like, Joe. When I sold I lived in brick. When I sold my house in brick, we all knew the reason why somebody was going to buy my house in brick was going to be for my backyard. You weren't buying it for the house. You were buying it because the backyard was a party. I mean, and that's plain and simple as far as that. I mean, I had in-ground pool, hot tub, koi pond, bar and everything else, balcony looking over the back. That's what was going to sell that house, and that's what added the value. It wasn't necessarily the house per se. Letting somebody tell you these things, you know, let them speak. They want to tell you about their house. They're proud of their house. Never rush them. I just, if it's a phone call, I don't get, there are plenty of times I'll be on the phone with them for an hour and a half. I don't care. I let them talk, you know, let's discuss everything. I get a lot of times on my calls at the end of it where they're like, wow, no one's ever spent that much time talking to me and explaining things to me. Every other because a lot of times, listen, they've spoken to multiple realtors. There's nothing, let's be clear, there's nothing special about you as far as being a realtor. There's tons of us out there. It's how you're, and kind of like Joe was talking, how are you going to separate yourself from the pack? Where these people will call me and they're like other realtor, you know, 5 minutes and they're off a call. Well, guess what? 5 minutes after that call, they don't remember you. They don't even know your name. You know, if you only spent 5 minutes on the phone with them, the longer you spend on the phone with them, the more likely they are to use you. If it's a phone call starting out, you know, just give them time, let them talk, you talk. I mean, that's kind of, I get a lot of online leads. So almost everything is initially on the phone. I deal with a lot of relocating people, especially from the Northeast down here to Florida now. It's completely different down here than it is up north. So trying to explain a lot of that to them and just taking that time.
Nice.
All right, we're at an hour. Thanks, Chris. I need two quick, I want to respect everyone's time. I need two quick ahas. One from Lynette, one from Allison. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Oh, this training was amazing. I feel like it was extremely helpful. I get stuck a lot as a new agent when they ask, how long have you been doing it? How many houses have you sold? So when you mentioned, you know, as me using that, as far as my team, we've been selling houses, me and my team, for 15 years. That really was like an aha moment for me.
That's awesome. Okay, thanks, Lynette. I'm glad you were here. Allie, give me an aha.
I mean, kind of like piggybacking off of what Lynette said, same thing. It's just the confidence in like how, you know, it's not me or I, it's my team, and combining all of the success together to really make it look like you know, why else wouldn't you choose us compared to someone else, you know? So it's just nice that you have the confidence and you have the backup. So that was cool.
Perfect. Actually, Tommy, I'm not letting you get away. Give me an aha, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Thanks for the topic too, Tommy.
No, of course, the whole training was an aha for me. That's the reason why I wanted to have it, because Chris was right. I'm not confident in the numbers, and that's why I wanted to do this, so I could just, if someone asks me something, it's already in the back of my head, I could just shoot it back at them. And I would actually, that document that you're reading off of, the numbers for the team, I know this is recorded. Would I be able to, can you just send me that? So I
Yeah, it's going to be in Google. Hey, Allie, it's in Google Drive. It's called What is Lore? Lore. And just to expedite things, I'm just going to, Tommy, I'm just going to copy and paste the whole thing to our trainings. Is that weird? No, yeah. Allie, just make a link to it to our training Slack.
Okay.
Go.
Awesome.
Cool. And then this will be, it'll be on our YouTube channel as well. Chris.
Hey, can I give you just a little idea off topic?
Yeah, please.
It's something that I'm doing down here in Florida. Obviously, we all know this is one screwed up year, especially for kids and such.